Hola amigos, and welcome back to another episode of La Vida Verde podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Human, and my guest this week is one of my favorite neighbors, Erik Lofstad. Erik is a software engineer, a husband, and a father working on creating a stress-free life here in Costa Rica, which is maybe hard since I beat his ass so badly last night at Moniker. We're going to talk all about that and all the other amazing things about his life, including running for political office. We hope you enjoy. Erik Lofstad.
Hola, amigo.
Welcome to La Vida Verde podcast.
Muchas gracias.
Ocean Culture Santa Teresa.
Yeah.
Have you been there?
Yeah. That's actually, we'll get to it, but that's one of the reasons why I fell in love with Costa Rica.
Really?
Yeah, I guess 2008.
This was an intentional shirt.
No, I just like it a lot.
Because you like black tanks like me?
I do. It makes you look a little bit better, I think.
I know, it makes me look cool, right?
Yeah.
The backwards hat, too, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's to hide the bald.
Oh, yeah. I don't wear hats because I think it makes me bald. That's why I don't want to.
There could be something to that.
How are you recovering after last night's rousing game of telestrations and monikers?
I mean, it's great, you know? You put everything on the field. You just give it your all.
Give it your best.
You know, I try my best. And
Very good. We do. Eric's one of my game night pals. We get together. You guys are in Alegria, right across the street, 10-minute walk. A beautiful house that we'll get to that. You were one of the first houses in Alegria. And there's so many interesting things about you that I keep continually learning. Every time I asked your wife last night a little bit about you, and I learned some things, so we'll talk about that. Tell me a little bit about, you grew up in Fancy Pants, Eastern Long Island.
yeah, so a little town called East Quogue, New York.
East Quogue?
East Quogue.
What is a quag?
I think actually it's a Native American, like a butchering of a Native American word for quahog, like a clam.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Quahog was a clam?
Uh-huh.
So like from Family Guy, quahog
Yeah.
means clam?
Yeah, a lot of that, like, you know, southern New England, Long Island, those tribes had similar enough languages, I think.
Quahog.
I could be butchering that.
I like that.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm learning new things already. And so what did you do there? What was your childhood like?
So, 10 out of 10, highly recommend. Grew up, like, basically on a swamp in the woods, and, like, my aunt and uncle lived across the street. We had, like, a family kind of compound on, like, a private dirt road. So, like, I was able to drive on my dirt road when I was, like, a kid, you know, just up and down the road because it was a private road.
And in New York, like not far, like what, an hour from the city, 2 hours?
Like an hour and a half if there's no traffic.
It's always amazing to me that you can be that close to New York City and that there's still places like that exist.
Well, that's why that place exists, is because it was like the playground for like the original, like super duper rich, like the billionaires, like Southampton, East Hampton.
The Hamptons.
Yeah.
Right.
So like we're kind of like, I went to West Hampton Beach High School. So yeah, there was like kids in my school that would have like BMWs and Range Rovers, and then we also had like a Coast Guard base there. So you'd have like the Coast Guard kids, you know, just normal, regular old people, and then like these other people.
The uber rich.
Yeah, it was like a really interesting dynamic to grow up in that. I knew I wanted to get the hell out as soon as possible.
I mean, somebody had to valet their cars.
Which I was a valet. We can get into that too.
Okay. But wait a minute. But now, were you a valet before or after? Because you told me we had a little bros beer night the other night, and you told me that your family, the Lofstad family, is like, it's actually a fishing like empire.
Could have been
Been a fishing empire.
Yeah. So my great grandfather came over from Norway, or maybe it was my great great grandfather. This is how much I know about my family history. Fishermen going back until we even know how far we can go back. So my great grandfather fished, my grandfather fished, my dad fished, my uncles fished.
But you don't fish.
I did it in high school as like a high school like summer job, and sometimes over winter. You know, there's no girls out in the middle of the ocean.
That's Mermaids, bro.
No, I mean, you see some cool stuff. Like,
No girls
it's like you can tell like the moment when you get into like the Gulf Stream, like the color changes. There's like different dolphins and stuff like playing, whales. really cool to do that. And
Where did you fish off the Atlantic then? I guess.
Yep.
Like off Long Island.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How far out?
Well, mostly during the summers, we would fish for either squid or like bottom fish, like flounder and fluke.
That's like line fishing or net?
Depends, but like at that time it would be net, and it was interesting. So like they have like depth finders on the boat, and you could see like where the fish are and like the water column. You can make the net like taller with floats or wider with like what we call doors. Yeah, I almost died a couple times. Had a seagull spit straight down my mouth one time.
You had a what?
A seagull crapped right down my mouth, which apparently is good luck. So that's why.
Is that one of the things that almost killed you?
No. So when you're towing these big nets behind like a big boat, this is tons and tons of force. And one time, one of those cables snaps, and if you're not like in a safe spot, that'll like slice you right in half. I've had ropes, like if you don't deal with the ropes nicely, and that rope gets tugged, it's pulling you overboard and down. You'll be, a couple 100 feet underwater.
You're not getting out.
Seconds, yeah.
Wow. So you had a cable snap?
Yeah. Our boat, the engine died and we were getting towed, and my uncle was like, "Don't be anywhere near the bow because if this thing snaps, it's gonna slice you in half." And of course, it snapped. But I was not on the bow, obviously, because that's like a good warning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted no part of that. We've had boats sink. We've had people almost die. A lot of Coast Guard saves.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, no thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got computers.
I'm good.
I'll visit everything I want to do online. Okay, and so yes, that leads us to like we've talked a little bit about we're roughly same age. I think you're a little younger than me. But
40.
You're 40. I'm 44. So we grew up in that era of like the beginning of like the internet and AOL and Doom and early computer games, Nintendo, these kinds of things.
Yep.
And that's what you do now. You're in
Yep.
tech. You're in
Yep.
software engineering.
Yeah, I was one of the good bad guys on the internet when I was a tween.
A good bad guy?
Yeah, so I don't know if anyone remembers like in our age bracket that were on AOL, like what's your ASL, age, sex, location?
I remember age, sex, location.
And me and my
from
friend
the chat rooms.
Me and my friend who ended up going to MIT, he was way smarter than I was, but like we always were playing around with computers. This is like the early 90s when like one friend had the internet and it was like super slow dial up. So anyway, we kept getting like approached online by like creepy people, and then he knew how to like mess with them and like taught me how to like do what's called like mail bombs, punters. Does anyone remember punters?
Oh, dude.
It would just like
kick you out.
Yeah, kick you out. And so basically we would go online and try to find like, I don't know, if someone was like 40 male and like, I'm a 13-year-old boy, they'd be like, hey, we'd be like, we're going to destroy your computer. And then eventually AOL called our house and like banned like us from AOL. Like, 'cause
They called you?
We were violating their terms of service. And I used to hide behind like screen names because a lot of people back then didn't know how to like control copy. So like my name would be like a bunch of X's and zeros and ones and I's and like see they wouldn't know like how to find me.
But they didn't have VPNs back then.
They probably did. I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah. They did. The ones who created the internet. They. Okay, and so that was like your intro to tech? Like was that like kind of what got you into it? When did you start doing software stuff?
So actually, my first job out of college, I was actually a telemarketer. I was business to business sales. It sucked.
I hated that.
It sucked so bad.
I hated telemarketing.
Oh my God.
It's the worst.
So bad.
I had people threaten my life.
Yeah, luckily I was doing it to like another business and
No, business to business.
Yeah.
And I was calling people up on Saturday mornings trying to sell them newspapers.
Oh God, every morning it was just really rough getting out of bed. But they were doing this newfangled thing called a CRM, customer relationship management, and I already was like, tech fluent, and they were like, hey Eric, can you help us, like your team, the telemarketers, like help the IT team being like their main like test user, blah blah blah. And so I was working with them more and more, and eventually I got a job with them working for the CRM because I was one of like the main people that knew pretty much everything about it. And then I parlayed that job into my next job, and then my next job, and then
You just ended up in it.
Just ended up in it
based on experience. So one of the things I talked to about with Dina last night, your wife, I was asking her about, I was like, what's the most interesting story I could ask Eric about? And she said Well, maybe the fact that his dad had a secret family growing up that he just found out about it like later in life.
Yeah.
Tell me about. Will you tell us about your family?
Sure.
Your dad's secret
So
life.
we grew up super religious. Like my dad would drag us to church all the time. We read the Bible.
What religion?
We were Episcopalian,
Uh-huh.
which is just basically Catholicism with divorce. Yeah, and like they're a little bit more progressive. Like they allow females to be in the leadership.
Okay, good.
So that kind of like shaped my worldview too. But we were there all the time, and my dad was very like, we got to read the Bible. I read the Bible seriously like multiple times. So he's like very holy man, but like clearly he had demons. So he, being the fishing family, he ended up, I don't know if it was like a lottery, but he ended up getting a business in the Fulton Fish Market in Manhattan. So Rudy Giuliani in the 90s kicked out the mob.
Yeah.
And then, the Russian mob ended up just taking their place. But he kicked out the Italian mob. And my dad ended up getting a store there. And so he ended up getting an apartment because commuting from Eastern Long Island to New York was just like wearing him thin.
Right.
And so he ended up like meeting a woman there, knocking her up, and then keeping that secret for a while.
Your whole family didn't know about.
No. My uncle ended up knowing, and he found out and then gave my dad like a weekend to like tell my family.
That's good. Good uncle.
He's a good guy.
Good
Uncle Mark. Solid guy.
Good. Uncle Mark, thank you.
Yeah. So then eventually he tells us, and like I remember like, I guess it was like 13 or 14. I was like, this is some Jerry Springer shit.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what Dina said. She's like, straight Jerry Springer shit.
Oh, it's like, and then, so they get divorced, and then he ends up
he had
having
a whole family.
Yeah, he ended up having another kid with that lady. And then, about that lady, so it ended up being kind of cool for me, because like I didn't really like my dad anyway. So it ended up working out. But this lady felt so bad about breaking up her family. She worked for Saturday Night Live. And she used to, I used to go to Saturday Night Live all the time. So they do like a pre-film and then like the main show. So I used to go to all the pre-shows.
Right.
It was great. I got to like meet like Jennifer Aniston, who I had a huge crush on. DMX, a couple cool. Jennifer Aniston was the big one for like teenage boy me.
Yeah, no, Jennifer Aniston was hot.
Yes.
Wait, pre-Friends, during Friends?
During Friends.
Yeah. Okay.
Late 90s.
And did you take her out or?
No, I was a teenage boy.
No great stories. Just ruled over her.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so that's cool because I love Saturday Night Live. It's one of my favorites. I still find it hilarious. I still think it's one of my favorites. It's gone ups and downs, of course. Who was the cast during that time? Just curious.
So actually, she was the main makeup artist for Horatio Sanz, who wasn't like a huge part guy, but like Will Ferrell was on there. Chris
he was
Kattan.
like the Latino guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Will Ferrell, Chris Kattan, David Spade.
I don't know if he was still there, but yeah, that like
that.
late 90s crew.
Got it. Adam Sandler?
No.
He had already left.
Yeah. He was already doing like Happy Gilmore and stuff.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, Will stayed on a long time.
Yeah.
He was the funniest dude.
So much.
He was still.
A lot of like older people don't understand the absurdity of it, but I love that.
Jimmy Fallon.
Jimmy Fallon was there?
Yep.
I actually ended up meeting Jimmy Fallon again in Baltimore. I was working at a restaurant and they were filming some movie. He's just not that into you, and he remembered me. And he took me out, and I got to meet Scarlett Johansson.
You went and hung out with Jimmy Fallon?
Yeah, in a place called Ale Mary's in Baltimore, Maryland, which just got sold. But yeah, he took me out, and I hung out with him.
That's a cool story. He took you out, and you hung. He's like, here's Scarlett Johansson,
and he tipped me $100.
Oh, dude, that sounds like a dream night for it. You were a waiter or something.
Yeah,
that's so cool. He remembered you.
Yeah,
like your face or like
yeah.
Wow, because you were around a lot back in those days.
Yeah, in like the dressing room and everything, and yeah.
You got to backstage production. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm nerding out a little bit on your Saturday Night Live thing because I love Saturday Night Live. I love production too. So, okay, so Dad's secret life turned out to be a blessing. Take us to the future. You have a wife now. How did that come about?
So funny story. So in college I had girlfriends the whole time, awesome people. I was the one that sucked.
You were a frat boy.
I was a frat boy.
You were a frat boy.
I was lacrosse playing frat boy.
Yeah.
When Duke lacrosse came, when that whole thing happened, I was like guilty. So I didn't want to be that guy. I was like the opposite of that guy.
Where'd you go to school?
A place called Towson University, just north of Baltimore.
Okay. So you kind of moved down to Baltimore at some point.
Got the hell off Long Island. I couldn't wait to get out of there.
By yourself?
Yeah.
Okay. And what did you study? Software engineering?
No, actually English. Yeah.
That's
Which was the doing of my first college girlfriend. You know, I wrote like one short story and she's like, you should be an English major. And I was like, yes.
so. I'm seeing a pattern here that women have had an improportionate effect on your life.
Oh,
based
yeah.
on
I went to Towson because I think the ratio was like 70-30. I was like, I like those odds.
Yes, I like those odds too. Okay, so you went to Townsend. You were in Baltimore, and you had many girlfriends, and
Just two.
Okay.
But then I was single, you know, for a couple years. And
after college.
After college, and I had, you know, that's kind of fun, but then it's like kind of shallow and empty.
Yeah.
And so there was 2 huge snowstorms in a row, and my roommates were with their girlfriends having like, you know, all the fun that you can have.
It was that time where like all your friends are like now like coupling
Settling
up.
down,
Yeah.
like, so I didn't have power. I didn't have internet. I had to use my imagination when I was by myself, if you know what I'm saying. And they're like, man, we're snowed in. We're just having all kinds of fun times. And I'm like, I'm running out of memories to go off of at this point.
Oh, now I know what you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah.
I know.
And then, you know, like I was just shoveling neighbors' roofs for fun. I was like, hey, man, like, you want me to shovel off? Like, I'm just lonely.
I'm lonely. Can I shovel your roof?
Yeah.
Is this
And then,
you mean really? You really want to shovel my roof?
yeah.
Okay.
And then I would just like, yeah, I think my single times have hit their max. Let's put myself out there and try to get serious. And also, I had worked on myself, and like one of the reasons why my theory is why my relationships ended in college was I didn't really know who I was and what I wanted out of life, and I didn't feel like I could grow within who I wanted to be with someone going along for the ride. Mm-hmm. But I felt like I was there. You know, like they say, brains don't really fully cook till you're like 25. I'd like one day, like, wow.
You hit it.
Yeah.
There was
like,
a moment where
was like,
you're like, this is what I want now.
yeah.
Okay.
Then Match.com.
Match.com. You met Dina on Match.com?
Yeah, I had a BlackBerry back then. There was no apps.
Oh.
So.
Wow, BlackBerry.
Yeah.
My sister met her husband on Match.com. So apparently that works.
And
for
that's back
people.
when it was kind of weird to meet people online.
Was it?
It was like, it wasn't fully transitioned to like weird to meet someone in real life. It was like still weird to meet someone online.
Right.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, to me, like, I mean, obviously, I think the world has figured this out, that like online dating really cuts out a lot of the pre, let's just cut to the chase.
Yep.
I'm into these things. Are you into those things?
Yeah.
It kind of helps you filter those things. So
Yeah, it worked out great.
Makes
We're
sense.
like, what, 14 years later, so.
What? 14 years you've been married.
Mhm.
Okay, and you have a child.
Yes, so Dina had a child earlier. So it's my
Dina's.
stepchild.
Oh, okay.
We always just say my child because, like, I mean, I
You
was the one
raised
helping
her.
with homework and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So you raised you. She came with a child.
Yep.
From a previous not marriage. But
Yeah, and then how I was more open to that was my roommate was dating a woman with a child. And I don't know if I had experienced him going through that, if I had been more open to, like, possibly becoming a stepdad.
How old were they when you?
10. Yeah.
10.
Yeah.
So okay, you were 10, and so 14 years. So they're 24 now.
Yeah.
24. Okay, and I say they because I'm aware
Yes.
that they are they identify as non-binary.
I think that's what we're going with at the moment.
Okay.
So they came out just right after college as being gay, and it's really interesting to, you know, it's like Dean and I are like the softest landing for a kid to like come out. Like we've made it very clear that we're so
You
like,
are who you are.
you
We
like
love
such
you.
a soft landing. We had no idea. Like the girliest girl at the time, like none, like no. I mean, did play softball. That may be a little bit of a hint.
Softball.
A little bit of a hint.
Softball.
But you know,
It's the stepping stones to
the gateway drug.
the gateway.
But no idea. And like, it was interesting to see how much of a struggle it was for them to like come out to us, even though we made it very clear, like whoever you are. So like, it's, you know, society still makes that like, you're different, you're weird. So they were going through that, like, what's wrong with me? And we didn't know. And it was kind of heartbreaking, but glad that they finally got to be who they really are, you know?
I mean, and what the they thing is like, that's kind of fresh in society. That wasn't really
That's like maybe a year old for us now to know
Okay.
that that's a thing.
right.
Yeah.
And so that
For them.
so they changed their gender pronouns.
Yeah.
At what point?
For themselves, maybe. See, here's another thing. It could have been for a long time. They finally told us.
A year ago.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, and I guess that's really their story to tell.
Correct.
But I'm curious because you were raising this child, and that's a unique experience to go through. But it sounds like you were just kind of like, well, it is what it is, and you are who you are.
One of the best human beings on the planet, and that's all that really matters.
That's sweet.
Like seriously, like the best heart. Like honestly, if they could adopt all the animals in the world, they really would. They're just kind of limited on space.
Oh, space.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I look forward to meeting
Yeah.
them. And how did you guys? Oh no, hold on. We have to talk about this. You told me just a minutes ago that you ran for office as a Republican.
Yeah. So
Were you always a Republican?
No, I'm like honestly, as I just kind of like hinted at, like one of the most like, I don't know, progressive liberal, like socially like accepting person in the world. But I also believe in like that's believing in freedom. So like like a lot of white dudes kind of born on second base. Everyone has their libertarian moment.
I was a libertarian.
Right?
I was born on second base.
Well, I didn't really fully understand what it takes to have society and everything, and like all the things that I like and enjoy. So, I got real deep into like libertarian economic theory and all that stuff. Had that little moment, and there was a moment like when, Obama kicked like the Republicans' ass like multiple times, where there was like the Republicans were kind of doing like a soul searching, like, maybe we should change, and they ended up just doubling, tripling down on the bullshit. But like, there was a moment where I thought, maybe I can like change them from the inside, and that was the whole thing for that. Kind of like gentrify them
From
the inside.
the Democrats or the Republicans?
Republicans. So I thought, like a couple of us, there was like kind of like a mini movement that obviously failed spectacularly. Maybe we could like become them, because really all it takes to be in a certain political party is going online and change it.
Yeah.
That.
It's true.
So now I'm a free agent.
You were trying to be, so basically you were like a sneaker cell.
Kinda.
You were a sneaker cell.
I was a rhino.
You were a rhino, a Republican in name only.
Yeah.
Got it. A rhino, right? But you ran for office.
I did. I ran for county council. Got my ass whooped. It was good. But
Were you funded? I mean, did you have
Yeah.
people who were like, I'm gonna put some money?
I had to
behind
beg
you,
for
son."
money. So you would think that's the hard part, begging for money. It's actually asking for help. Like, hey, could you take your Saturday that you were going to do something else to do and like go knock on doors with me and be like, hi, I'm this stranger you don't know anything about. Like,
Running for county council.
will you give me your vote? Like, what do you care about? What I learned is what a lot of people care about is they don't really know. Like, most people don't know how like our forms of government work and how they relate to one another. Like I'm running for county council, so like that huge pothole in the front of your house, like that fire hydrant that's leaking, that school that is not doing great.
Right.
Those are the things in their ballpark.
Right.
And then, they just want to talk about walls and
Right.
people taking our jobs and stuff. And I'm like, I have no, it's all about vibes. Like, would they have a beer with you and just hate on immigrants together? And I'm like, so I kind of felt like it was good that they hated me and didn't want to vote for me. So.
Oh, America. I mean, United States.
Yeah.
Oh, United States. I have to always remind myself and others,
Immediately cancel.
Costa Rica is part of America, as is entire of South America and North America are parts of this country named after Amerigo Vespucci, this land named after Italian map maker Amerigo Vespucci, whatever. Okay, so you ran for office, and then how did you end up here? It was during COVID, right?
That's how we ended up here. So way back to my dad. So he ended up cheating once again on that new lady. With he came on like a business trip to Costa Rica. I'm not quite sure how or why, but he met a woman here, and he ended up leaving that lady, and then
he left Manhattan for
and
Costa Rica.
Yeah, and ended up marrying a woman from here, like a successful lawyer, and her 2 adult children are like my age. He's a really good dentist. She's like a doctor. So super smart.
Your dad's a dentist?
No, the son.
Oh, the kids.
The adult son.
Her kids, okay.
And we're like, what is this woman seeing this guy? I guess he's just like really good at bullshitting. She was good looking, intelligent, successful. Like, what do you want with this schlub? But
she might have wanted an American passport.
we thought that too, but then the time when that could have happened passed, and they were still together, and we're like,
She
all right,
really
I guess
loved
she
the guy.
really actually liked the dude, and then he ended up fucking her over and making 2 more kids.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he has like a breeding fetish or something.
Okay. So your dad gets remarried.
Yeah.
And that's why you came down.
And then I came and I hung out with them down here. And I'm like, I love this place. This is like the mid 2000s. And then I came back again and I went to Malpais.
Okay.
And this is when it was like a donkey trail. Like there was no infrastructure whatsoever. Like
It still kind of is.
kind of is. I mean, there's paved parts.
It's a paved donkey
There
trail.
was no paved parts whatsoever. It was
Yeah.
like single track.
Right.
And I remember meeting a bunch of like Canadians and Americans that were like, you know, clearly trustafarians. Like, yeah, we just decided to move down. Meanwhile, I was like under mountains of student loan debt and like all that stuff. So I was like, I can't do that. But I remember like it planted the seed. I was like, I got to get out of here. I want to do this one day. So then that was in the back of my mind. And Dean and I, when we were like, you know, thinking about selling our home in the States, like we wanted to like buy land, like, build like a regular house and have like a tiny house, like farm where like a bunch of people could just like plop their tiny houses on it and like take care of their little plots. And that would be like it, like just live with us. A lot of work.
You wanted a community.
I did. And I didn't really know something like this area existed. And so then, you know, COVID happens and, you know, we watch Netflix and we see that. And like, we're immediately like,
That being Down to Earth with Zac Efron,
Yeah.
episode 3 with featuring Steven Brooks.
yeah. And so like, we're like, Oh, we were also looking at Puerto Rico and like Asheville, North Carolina.
Asheville's great,
And also
yeah.
like, oddly enough, like coastal New Jersey, like southern coast, like near Cape May. Two all very wildly different places, but like different good things about them. So yeah, then we like jumped on it. I Googled Stephen Brooks because obviously I thought Ecovillage was like full. It was already built. Turns out that's not fully true. Like there's still some for sale.
Yep.
But then like the third or fourth thing was like Alegria. And I'm like, oh, what's this? And then we're like, let's do it. Like literally like 4 or 5 days later, we want to call. And then like a week later, we put down a deposit. And the reason we were able to do that is we had sold our home and lived in a camper for like 4 years.
Oh.
Yeah, we lived in a 27-foot camper. And the plan was for Dina to be a travel nurse.
Right, she's a nurse.
Yep.
Okay.
My wife's a nurse. And we're like speed running like a lot of this. But
Yeah, of course.
yeah,
I
we
mean-
were like multi-coastal workers. Like Dina would like work in California. And like she literally like to make this all happen, she would work in California, sleep, wake up, get on the plane, work in Maryland, work 2 shifts, sleep, get on a plane, go back to California, work.
Right, travel nursing is actually really good money, though.
Especially during the COVID years. Yeah.
Right, and I had another friend who did that. She was a travel nurse, and she would like just sleep in her car at the she had a car that she could sleep in at the hospital and like park in the parking lot. And she said a lot of them did that.
Yeah. I mean, we had an apartment, but
Yeah.
because we were gonna do the camper thing, but it ended up being like if you were gonna be either in like a state park or like a campground, it was gonna end up being like almost as much as just renting an apartment. Like
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you didn't live in a camper for 4 years.
not consecutively, but we were essentially homeless and like trailer trash, just like you know being gypsies around.
You didn't have a house.
We were houseless.
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 Yeah. Not all people who are houseless are trailer trash.
It's a self joke.
Okay. You were.
It's not funny though, because like you know, there's people some people that life chooses them, and like, well, we chose it.
Yeah. It's true. It's true. Not everybody has the means
Correct.
and resources. So, thank you for acknowledging that.
Mhm.
And so you guys were one of the first. So you kind of like went all in. You were one of the first builds in Alegria. Maybe the
Correct.
first, right?
We might have been one of the first ones to start.
Start.
Other people finished before us, but like we're so thrilled with it.
You built this beautiful. It's a beautiful wooden house. A lot of wood.
Wood, concrete, steel. I would call it like, and Marcela Carranza was our architect who, you know, I would run through a brick wall for her. She did an amazing job.
She did a great job. The house is beautiful.
Yeah, maybe she would disagree. I would describe it as kind of like a Scandinavian tropical, like a, I don't know, like very modern, but like also
I don't
warm.
get the Scandinavian part. What's the Scandinavian part about it?
Like clean, straight lines. You know, kind of like
okay.
if you look up like those kind of like cabins, you would see the vibe that I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about now.
Mhm.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. I get it. I see what you're saying. No, seriously, I get it. Marcella was great. So you are happy with your house? Yeah, you have a
Thrilled.
beautiful house. We do game nights there. It's not. It's we have our own little crew.
It's kind of like a windsock, like the way the way she oriented it. It just kind of like takes the prevailing winds and it just kind of flows through. It's very comfortable.
Yeah, it's very
there.
open.
Yeah.
Yeah, a windsock. That's a good analogy. Yeah, because you can open the whole front.
Yeah, and it kind of funnels into.
You guys had the, and I would be remiss without saying this, that
Oh yeah.
you were first thing I noticed about this house, the bedroom, when they first put the bed in, there was a giant window right on the road. And my first thought is like, are these people exhibitionists? Because like, look at this. Like, I think I'm gonna be able to like. Obviously, you eventually got curtains,
Yeah.
but it was a while before that.
Yeah, we literally sometimes, like, especially with the daytime, would have to like go into the closet, like so no one could see us from the streets.
Because it's a full wall.
change.
It's a full wall window.
Yeah.
Like the whole front wall is just a giant window.
And our shower is fully glass to the side. So there's our neighbor Dekel.
Dekel.
I'm butchering it.
No,
Sorry,
no. He went over this with me like 20 times and made until I said it right. Dekel.
What he said. So his poor deck has like a full view of our shower. So
Yeah.
we're working on that right now. We're getting vines to grow up that.
Something tells me that Dekel does not mind so much.
Yeah, for me.
Well, I mean, I'm thrilled you guys are here. I love having you guys as neighbors. You don't have anything to promote? Do you have anything you want to tell the world about?
No, like
This is your opportunity, bro. The
So
whole valley's watching.
I want to promote your Patreon.
Aw.
I'm one of your patrons.
Thank
So
you.
I bought my way onto this. No,
It's like he bought your way
no. So I
on.
was thinking about it one day, and like, you know how like
Thank you. By
people
the way.
like
Thank you.
So like this is a moment we don't really know where this valley is gonna go. Like it could be something, and like people might want to look back and like this is like an oral and video history. I really like watching these things and like meeting the neighbors. Like it's really important to me. Who knows who in the future might want to look at this and be like, wow, this is like the beginning, and this is like a firsthand account of the people that moved here.
Yeah.
So it's cool. Like I'm promoting this. Like if you're watching this, like I support it because I want it to keep going.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank you, Eric. I appreciate that.
You might not look at it like that. You're like, I'm just, doing a podcast. I'm sorry. Not a podcast. It's a podcast.
It's a podcast.
Yeah. Duh.
It's a video filmed podcast.
But you know, like people that go through like ancient like villages, like one day there was people just cooking dinner. They had no idea that like leaving their pots and pans on the ground were going to be important to someone in the future. So this could be something one day.
Thank you. Yeah, I know. I think about that sometimes because I'm like, well, at the least, because I'm still largely self-funding this, and it is like kind of it's like a passion, but I do have that in my mind a little bit that like, well, if nothing else, at least we're creating for posterity this like interesting stories.
Or we're training AI.
Also, what do you think about AI?
It's one of those things.
Because you're
where,
in software engineering.
Yeah, like remember the 90s, how we thought the internet was going to bring us all together, and it ended up really just being like a place where like the worst of the internet could just find each other and like become an echo chamber and like kind of like concentrate the terribleness of it all. So
yeah, that's kind of what I feel about
I
AI.
feel like AI could, done right, could be like, the age of Aquarius. Like we're all like, just like, wow, the computers could just be like our, do everything for us, and we could just eat fruit in our,
gardens
and our gardens. But I think bad people are going to use it for bad reasons, and it's just going to be not good.
I was yesterday like looking, for I need to like clean up an email list. I have a large email list from years ago that I need to like really go through. But I'm realizing Era was with Erica Hicks yesterday, and she was like, let's look for an AI email list cleaner. And I was like, oh yeah, things like that exist now. Like, so there I see like, I'm slowly like, okay, well that and like we've used it for like when we have like things that you can't get rid of in the background. We use it for the podcast sometimes to get rid of background noise or whatever. I mean, it's amazing. Some of this stuff is just absolutely fascinating. But you think it's like, what do you think is going to happen?
Just look at your algorithm on your social media versus what maybe pop up in mine. Like we're all in like different silos. Like we think we know what's going on, but like it's nudging you every little day to something. Like we're all getting nudged into our little bins. It's kind of like the Matrix when like Neo thinks that he's like the one, but like he's really just like a glitch. Like he's like a statistical certainty. I feel like we're all kind of getting nudged into our little. Like AI knows more about you than you know about you.
That's the part that I I'm like, I don't want to go too deep into it because of that reason. I'm like, I feel like there's, I was the same with cell phones. 10 years I stayed away from cell phones. I was like, that thing looks like you're holding something up to your brain. Like there's a battery. I see electromagnetics. Like brain cancer is a high possibility. So I was like, I'm going to wait 10 years and see what happens. If people don't get brain cancer in 10 years, when they start to
cancer on their hip, when they put the phone in.
or when they start to get their cancers, I'm going to stop using it because then I'll know. But it hasn't happened.
Yeah, this could be like, it's going to be interesting. Buckle up. But that's why another reason I'm glad I'm here. I try to tune out. I try to because there's so many things that I care about very, very deeply, and I just it's kind of like fighting against a riptide. I just kind of keep your head above water and
and
control what you can control.
And you can kind of do that here because we are like, if AI took crashed every computer network tomorrow, we've still got our friends and family. Mm-hmm. We have analog board games. We've got our gardens growing with water that doesn't require that kind of technology. So we're set up, bro.
Yep, the fundamentals are awesome here.
Yeah.
And it's the people, too, obviously.
The people. We love our neighbors. Machuca Valley, we love you. Erik Lofstad, thank you, brother. Thank you for taking time out of your day to come out here. My name is Matthew Human. This is La Vida Verde podcast. My guest today was Erik Lofstad. We release episodes every Tuesday on YouTube. If you want to be like Erik and support our Patreon, patreon.com/La Vida Verde podcast, I don't think you're ever going to regret this. I really believe that. We really appreciate the support too, and thank you for supporting us, Erik. Also, we are on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. We are on Instagram at Finca Vida Verde CR. Feel free to reach out. We're on Facebook, Finca Vida Verde. Please support and thank you to Eco Teas Yerba Mate. That's really about it. I'm so happy that you came, and I'm so happy. Thank you, my bro.
All right, man.
Pura vida.
Pura vida.